I'm Bob Sharits, and here we are, another grateful Monday. If you haven't taken a moment to reflect upon this big, beautiful week we have sitting in front of us, take a minute to do so. You know, a lot of people sit on Monday and they dread the week in front of them, and I try to do just the opposite and remind our listeners that we have a big week in front of us that we can look at from a number of different ways, and I choose to look at it from a place of gratitude. I'd like to give you guys the opportunity to take a second and do the same and think about all the things that you have to be grateful for in your life. So go ahead and do that while we settle in. The Way Out Recovery Hour is brought to you by The Way Out. We are an intensive outpatient program for adolescents, adults, and their families, located on the corner of Plum and Bouquet Canyon. And our phone number is 296-4444. Check out our awesome website at thewayoutrrecoveryscv.com. And again, welcome to another Monday. Today's a very exciting show. I have in studio with me today Kevin Sarkisian. Hi, Kevin.
Hi, good to see you.
And Samantha, who is a previous runner in the SOAR program, Students Often Running, which is a local program that takes youth in need, and they come in with some with no running experience at all, right, Kevin?
Correct, yeah. Most of the students that we work with have very little or no running experience whatsoever, and we train them for a full marathon.
And they run the LA Marathon. And everything that I read, 11 years in a row, every kid has finished.
Right. We've run almost, including this year, about 200 kids through the program, and we've never had a student not finish the marathon.
Take a minute to let that sink in, man. That's awesome. A big deal.
Yeah,
that is
awesome.
A big deal. And so we have a really incredible show in front of us. I'll tell you, so here's an example of when we opened The Way Out, we decided to do things different. You know, I've been working in various treatment centers and have been working with youth and adults in Santa Clarita for about 11 years, primarily drug and alcohol issues, but we know along with those issues come all kinds of different stuff. So we've been working with kids and their families and adults and their families for a long time. And I've worked in many treatment centers, and I sit around, most of them, you have these groups and you sit around talking about the problem a lot. Let's look at the problem. Let's look at what the problem is, the problem. So we decided when we opened The Way Out to really start to focus on the solutions and the things that people are passionate about, because I really believe in my personal recovery, the things that I love to do and the things that I didn't even know I was passionate about, but I found out about, are the things that keep me sober today. And so for instance, I met with a young lady this morning and her family. And one of the first things that I asked her is there anything that you love to do? And when she said, I'm an artist, get a lot of artists, a lot of very creative people that come into recovery programs. But then she goes, and I like to hike and I like to run. And I perked right up, right? I'm like, that is exactly what we do around here.
Right, yeah.
We like to take our clients and their families and go out hiking. We like to plan camping trips. We like to get them involved in programs such as SOAR.
Right.
And so when a mutual friend of ours, Kevin, invited us to lunch to meet each other and talk about how we could work together, it was very interesting because I sat down at lunch with Erica and Kevin, and by the end of that lunch I said, wait, I think I just committed to run the LA Marathon.
Right.
But really, really cool. Really, really cool. I'm a runner as well. And tell us a little bit about you, Kevin.
Sure. So I'm actually not from California. I'm from the East Coast, and I worked in corporate banking for a very long time. And one time a friend of mine came up to me and said, hey, I know you have a passion working with kids. You should answer this ad. And I ended up taking a job as a treatment counselor in the Allegheny Mountains, where I actually lived in a tent for an entire year working with probation youth. So I was, came out to California with my wife, who was interested in pursuing a job in the industry and acting, and still had the passion to work with kids, and took a job at Hathaway Treatment Center in Sylmar. I worked there for 10 years as the voc ed instructor, voc ed supervisor. We did job training, placement for students with disabilities and students with special needs. When I during that 10 years, a friend of mine who was the PE instructor down there started a program, became a leader with a group called Students Run LA, which is based in Los Angeles, primarily services LAUSD. And I became a leader for them for 4 years. And when I ran several kids through that program, I was the head coach leader and trained them for their marathons. And shortly, I want to say 10 years into my work experience with Hathaway, I took a job. I had the opportunity to come to Santa Clarita and take a job closer to home, better opportunities for me professionally. And I wanted to continue to work with Students Run LA, but unfortunately, because logistically we're far removed from the city of LA, being in Santa Clarita, they said that they couldn't help me. They couldn't support my chapter moving up here. So I said, well, it's such a great program. It reaches so many people. Let's see if we can do it ourselves.
Model something
after it, right? So I took all my experience from Students Run LA and contacted a group called the Santa Clarita Track Club. They had an existing nonprofit umbrella because I didn't want to necessarily pursue the challenges with building my own nonprofit and maintaining that. I wanted to come in under somebody else's and just run the program. So Santa Clarita Track Club really embraced the idea, and they were super supportive. And we started SOAR 11 years ago with 4 students from Golden Valley.
And still involved with Santa Clarita Track Club? They're still under that umbrella.
Yeah, Students Off and Running SOAR program is a Santa Clarita Track Club program. They have 3. They have track and field with about 475 athletes, student athletes, and then they have the cross country program. And SOAR is the long distance marathon training program. The difference between our program and the other 2 programs is that we don't solicit any registration fees from families, so we pay for the whole entire experience. And it cost me about $1,000 per student to run through the program. Because not only the LA Marathon registration fees, we also have qualifying events that we run them through, and they have to hit those benchmarks to continue training for the marathon. And we provide shoes for them, charter bus service to the marathon. We have a VIP charity suite at the marathon. The way that we generate money for that is essentially solicit donations from the local public and build a charity program itself.
So while we're there, real quick, if somebody listening wants to donate to the Students Off and Running program, what do they do?
So you can go to our website is www.soar, S-O-A-R, hyphen, so it's a dash, sc.org. So, SC is for Santa Clarita.org. And as soon as you hit our landing page, there'll be a big, bright blue button that says Donate. You click on that, and it's about as easy as it gets. It's all secure server, so you can use your credit card, and it's all encrypted, so there's no struggles with in terms of privacy or anything like that.
So it's www.soar-sc.org.
Correct, yeah.
Go there and donate. We will put that out there a couple of times.
Awesome.
When you were talking about the beginning of the program, I noticed a little bit of emotion going on there. God, it must be incredible to see these students come in and just take off.
Yeah, it's pretty cool. We don't solicit your typical high school athlete. So we define the program as anybody who's in need. And in need for us isn't like your typical definition of an at-risk youth. In need for me is somebody who wants to take on a challenge. They might have some emotional issues. They may have economic challenges, which is, because marathon training is expensive. Right. The training supplies and the registration for races and the shoes and the equipment and all that. Some of these kids don't have that opportunity, so we provide that for them. So it could be social, emotional. There could be body image issues where I routinely would have young ladies or young men come in the program and they'll say, well, I want to lose some weight. You'll definitely lose some weight with me.
You will.
Yeah. I've had students lose 50 pounds in a season.
Right.
And routinely you get lean and mean. That'll definitely happen. I mean, we're going to put some miles on you. The program is 24 weeks and 400 miles of training from start to finish. And we take you from essentially 0 miles to a full marathon in that 24 weeks.
Yeah, that's the sticker on my car, 0.0.
Exactly, right? Yeah, exactly.
It's not a weight loss program, but if you commit to, you think about that, right? What it takes to commit to running a marathon.
Right.
It's not just an idea. It takes a commitment. It takes 3 times a week there's training.
Right. We train on Tuesdays and Thursdays after school at 3:30, and then we always train on Saturdays at 6 a.m. That's what gets them. That's what gets them out. Trying to get kids out of bed on a Saturday.
On a Saturday morning.
Yeah, 6 a.m.
At 6 a.m.
At 6 a.m. and then especially near at the end of the season when we're doing 15 miles of hill work. So today is 6 a.m. rally, and we're going to do 15 miles of hills. So that's because we break up the training. Some of it's flat running and some of it's hills.
Love them hills.
Oh, yeah.
Right, Samantha?
Yeah.
So let me ask you about you. When did you complete the marathon?
I was SOAR 2012, 2013. So I completed
little
it.
closer.
I completed it in 2013,
Right.
and my time was 5 hours 6 minutes.
Let me
So-
stop you and say congratulations.
Thank you.
I don't know what the stats are, but I think I looked it up one time, like ultra runners and marathon runners, and I think it said 0.5% of the population will ever do something like that.
Yep.
My
1/2
goal-
of 1%.
Yeah, my goal was 5 hours.
Right.
So, being past 6 minutes, that was just as good for me, And just, I wouldn't have been able to do any of it without the program.
Right. So how do you get involved? How did you get involved in SOAR?
My brother actually did it the year before me when I was a junior and he was a senior. He did it, and we actually had no idea that he was doing it until he had already done the marathon, and then
And he's like, guess what I did?
yeah, and
Came
then,
home with the medal,
yeah,
right?
pretty much. And then the next year, he just told me, you should do this. I didn't know about it the year before, unfortunately, so I was only able to do it for my senior year. And I was just kind of like, why not? What do I have to lose? I'm not big on running. I actually don't like running at all. I was...
That's funny.
I
That's funny to hear that,
in high
right?
school, I was smoking half
Very
a pack of cigarettes a day,
non-traditional.
Right.
And, with this program, I nearly quit smoking. I'm
Right.
not gonna lie.
Yeah,
did
you
not
can't do
quit.
both. You can't do both.
Yeah, but I gained weight. I gained muscle because obviously I'm very small frame. I'm actually underweight, but I nearly quit smoking. I had my grades up. I took extra classes with coach, and just doing this, running the marathon, the experience for me was just something that brought my confidence up, my boost up.
Right.
And because of that, I was able to do a lot more in school and in life, really. I could put down on my resume that I ran a marathon at the age of 17,
Right.
And that is impressive.
It is
That's
impressive. It takes a level of
you know?
commitment to do that.
Exactly.
Yeah.
And a lot of people know that. A lot of people know that you can't just run a marathon,
Right.
and
You can. You just go home in a bag at the end of it.
Yeah.
If you don't train.
I think
much.
I think
True.
everybody knows that. People who run go, "Wow, that's a big deal," and people who don't run go, "Oh my God, that's even a bigger deal." Right?
yeah.
So, isn't it cool how it translates from, like you said, it built my confidence, which allowed it to build confidence in other areas of my life. Isn't it neat how it translates into everything else?
Yeah,
Right.
it does, yeah.
And do you have any funny stories about Coach? Come on, embarrass him on air. No. She's
No,
like-
I can't. He has a wife. I can't.
Yeah, one of the cool things is the whole team. You start with how many kids?
Well, that's an interesting question. This year I committed to capping the team at 30.
Right.
And they always joke because it's always a soft 30 with me. If kids come in, they need help.
Isn't there more than 30 right
We
now?
started
Wait a
at
minute.
42. Yeah, we started at 42 this year, and our attrition rate, because it's a tough program, it's a tough commitment, and so kids do. Because they might have other commitments with extracurriculars, realize after they start training that I can't do this. I can't do everything. So our attrition rate is usually around 10 to 20%.
Okay.
So with 40 kids, I'll lose 8 to 10 students will
So you end up with 30.
right. So we'll get down to that level. I think right now, as of this week, we're at 37. So we started with 42. We're at 37 right now.
Okay.
But they're all super solid, and wish the ones that have left the program, it wasn't because they hated it. It was just because they said, well, I
got
just
too-
have,
I have
I have
too
other
much going on.
commitments. Yeah,
Yeah.
other commitments. Yeah.
And these are all kids, when you say youth in need, these are all kids who otherwise wouldn't be involved in a program. Like they're not doing it on their own.
Right. That's a good point. So I actively recruit out of in demographic areas where I feel that there's a need, or a school where I feel there's a need. They have to be enrolled in high school. So we don't go below 14 years of age in terms of the training. And when they age out of the program, when they graduate high school, they can continue on as a student coach, but they have to request that. And I have to approve that, because the student coaching at that point, they're paying their own way, but
Right.
they are, and I only allow students to come back if they're going to be a positive role model to younger kids. But in terms of recruiting, I'm going to, traditionally economically areas where there might be some more economic challenge, Newhall and Canyon Country, and that's my own opinion on it. That may not play out universally, but that's what I do. And then also we recruit at schools that don't have sports programs. So Bowman High School is a big recruiting point for us, and also Academy of the Canyons.
Got it.
Because those kids they're enrolled in high school, but they don't necessarily have that athletic outlet, and so we feel there's a need there.
Yeah, great. And that, it is, it's youth in need, not at-risk youth.
Right.
When you think at-risk youth, there's all kinds of, different issues that are involved
Right.
there. But when you're going to schools like Bowman,
Right.
You're kind of automatically, getting the kids who have had difficulties in other places,
Right.
who aren't necessarily involved in any kind of sports team.
Right.
And so, the contrast between how they're doing and how they're doing at the end of that marathon is probably huge.
Yeah, it's pretty neat to see them go through the process. I always tell them, it's transformational, that process, but the program is transformational, but that day is transformational. When you start the marathon and you finish, you're a different person that day. So, because at that point you've gone through so much emotion and trauma on your body. I mean, mile 22, the wheels are coming off the train. You're just trying to hold it together. You know what I mean?
Right.
So, and I had a young lady who I ran into her at mile 19. I picked her up, and I said, "Hey, how you doing?" And she looked at me and just started sobbing. I was just like, "Come on,
Yeah,
okay,
come on. Yeah, let's go.
We're gonna finish this together." It's pretty cool. So
Yeah, neat.
Yeah.
I'll bet there's, I bet there's many, many, many memorable experiences for you.
Yeah.
Is there anything that just grabs a hold of you over the last 11 years that really is a memorable experience?
I think in 2011 there was a year you ran, Sammy, the year of when it was on St. Patty's Day, right? With Jessica?
Yes.
Yeah, okay.
Yeah.
So the year before Sammy actually ran, we had a rainstorm that was not predicted, and it was the worst storm in LA marathon history. So and when I say rainstorm, it started raining when they said go, and it didn't stop raining.
2011?
2011. It was, I think they had 7 inches of rain that day, and it was 60 degrees, full-on Category 6 winter storm came in. And so they had close to, it was a large percentage of runners that had trained all year long to be in the race were dropping from hypothermia all around us.
Right.
And I remember running past a gentleman who was sitting in a puddle of water 9-10 inches deep, and the paramedics were working on him. He was just shaking like a leaf because he was hypothermic. And the amazing thing about that is every single one of the kids in our program finished that day. So it was cool.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Well,
That was
kids are tough, man.
Yeah, and I actually ran. Yeah, kids are tough, but they had trained in all kinds of conditions because it was a real wet training season.
Right.
And the young lady that I finished the race with, Masa, her name was Masa, she finished in, I want to say, around 7 hours. But that was pretty memorable for me, crossing the finish line with her.
Yeah, that's a big deal, and I can imagine that's a big deal, even for an organization like, whoever puts on the LA Marathon. It's a huge. But in a year like that, I can imagine that kind of, every runner that finishes in a year like that is a big deal. It's a very big deal.
And I think that they
extend the time limit.
Well, yeah,
Right.
What they were doing is they actually converted the finishing area into a trauma center because people were coming across the line and going into heat. The buses were all there, and they were putting them on buses to keep them warm because
Right.
people were falling out. So they even I believe they sent out a a special certificate that year, like you survived.
The
Yeah. It's pretty much. Yeah, it's pretty
storm.
cool.
Yeah, that's a big deal.
We didn't even take we usually, I have a pretty solid structure that says you cannot leave any race until the entire team finishes. And that day, I sent a text out to the team mid-race and said, you just need to go. When you're done, get out of here.
Right.
We didn't actually take our finishing shot until a week after that. Yeah.
Go take care of yourself.
Yeah, exactly. So it's pretty cool.
Well, real quick before we go on a break, what I want to do is I want to put out information for anybody who wants to donate again.
Yeah.
So the program is Students Off and Running. It's the SOAR program. It takes youth in need. Some of them, many of them, have never run ever before in their lives. And it's local in Santa Clarita. And at the end of the day, they're running the LA Marathon.
Right.
Let that sink in for a minute. The program pays for everything, including shoes, training, transportation, the race entry, all of that stuff, correct?
Yep.
And it relies upon donations from the city of Santa Clarita and various donors. And so go to...
So it's www.soar, S-O-A-R, hyphen, so it's a dash, SC for Santa Clarita.org. And I also wanted to put a plug in, too. We also have a big fundraising event in February every year called the Mardi Gras Madness 5K, 10K, and it's supported by Westfield, by Valencia Town Center. And that usually draws in a large donation pool for in support of the program as well. So
look that up, folks, Mardi Gras Madness, and it takes off out of the mall?
Right.
Is that where it starts?
Yes, we set up right behind Sears near Chick-fil-A, and it runs the Paseos, and it's a great event.
Yeah, and whenever you get an event that's like a 5K or 10K where it's the shorter distances, we want to put out to everybody, if you're not a runner, cool, come out.
Yes.
It's a 5K, it's 3 miles. Walk it with your kids,
Right.
donate the money, and support this wonderful, wonderful cause. So Mardi Gras Madness,
It's February 25th this year of 2018.
Okay, great. So this is the Way Out Recovery. I'm Bob Sharits, and we're in studio with Kevin Sarkisian and Samantha from the SOAR program. We will be right back after this break.
The best live theater can be found right here in the Santa Clarita Valley. The Canyon Theater Guild has been entertaining audiences for decades with top-quality musicals and plays. Located in Old Town Newhall, the CTG also offers workshops for the young actor in your family. For more information, call the box office at 799-2702 or go to canyontheater.org.
Join Fred Arnold of American Family Funding and his guests for the SUV Chamber and Business Spotlight. Discover more about Santa Clarita as Fred interviews new chamber members and local businesses. Get to know chamber members and businesses close to home where it matters most. The SUV Chamber and Business Spotlight on the last Tuesday of the month from 10 a.m. to noon. Join Fred Arnold on your hometown station AM 1220 KHTS.
Why do people from all over Santa Clarita come to our spa in Canyon Country? Simple. They want the highest quality services at prices that everyone can afford. This is Rosemary from Beyond Harmony Med Spa. Read our reviews and know why we won the Ultimate Beauty Awards 2 years in a row by the readers of Elite magazine. Come and see how close we really are and experience the level of excellence that our clients have loved for the past 13 years. Go to beyondharmony.com or call 298-8008 today for a free consultation.
There's only one Santa Clarita plastic surgeon who is Yale trained and board certified, Dr. Justin Heller.
To be a board certified plastic surgeon like myself, what that truly entails is about 5 to 7 years of honed surgical training in reconstructive, all areas, as well as aesthetics, which means your facelifts, your breast augmentations, your body contouring, true training, and board certification. In fact, that's the only board certified area that can be achieved in this realm.
Dr. Justin Heller, warm, understanding, always available for guidance because he's local. HellerPlasticSurgery.com.
Santa Clarita's hometown station, KHTS. We fought so hard, now we gotta get back what we lost.
Welcome back to the Way Out Recovery Hour. I'm Bob Sharits, and I am in studio today with Kevin Sarkisian and Samantha from the SOAR program. That is Students Off and Running. It is obviously a running program local to students in Santa Clarita, youth in need, and it takes oftentimes students who have never run in their lives and trains them to run the LA Marathon. And for 11 years running, every student has finished the LA Marathon.
That's correct, yeah.
Big deal.
Yeah.
So I'm listening to you tell that story about running in the rain in 2011 and
Yeah.
people coming in with hypothermia and people sitting in puddles and emergency crews and all that stuff. And I'm thinking, my God, why would you do something like that?
Well, and it's funny because for me personally, I found as I got older, because I love hiking and backpacking. That really was my passion. It still is. I still do it quite a bit, but it wasn't keeping the weight off as much as my metabolism started to slow down as I get older. So running for me is the one thing in my life where I feel like I can, and I'm gonna say quote unquote, I can beat myself up in a pretty quickly. 3 to 5 miles I can get that done in 40 minutes, and I get the psychological benefit of being mellowed out all day. The endorphin rush that you get from running and a good workout is just, it'll carry you through the entire day. So that's usually how I set up my mornings. And when I ran my first marathon, so a buddy and I actually bet each other that we were going to train for the LA Marathon. This is, we're talking 20 years ago.
All you did was backpack back then. Were you a runner?
Were
you a runner?
No, I wasn't a runner.
Okay.
No. So anyway, long story short, he trained for it. I didn't. I flaked out, and he ran the marathon. And I saw him come across the line, and I was like, I can't believe it. I didn't follow through. So I did the worst thing you probably do, which is train for a marathon in 3 months, and I ran my first marathon in Palos Verdes, and that was all hills.
Right.
That was the PV, full. So, but with that, what I realized that the marathon training and the whole long distance running thing, really, I wanted to share that with people, So when I took a job with the Heart District as an administrator overseeing a program, I kind of lost touch with the kids. Which is, I wanted to be, I got in the game of working with kids because I want to work with kids.
Right.
As an administrator, you're doing more contract stuff and monitoring staff. And so the SOAR program is really my effort to, recreate that connection with students, recreate that connection with kids. And I think that the vehicle of running really offers that. It's a really positive way to connect with them. You don't have to do too much. You just got to run. And if you're all running together, you kind of have that shared misery thing going on, and that builds connections. It builds, respect and camaraderie. But then you're also seeing the benefits, like they feel better. You can tell there's a chemical thing going on when you finish, and you start to see them get healthier, and they naturally start to make better dietary choices. It all ends when they finish the marathon, But I mean, but during that training time, there is that impact where and that sometimes can be lifetime impact in just a 24-week program, which is pretty cool.
Well, I think you and I are a lot alike in the sense that when I find something like hiking or backpacking or running that I love to do, I want everybody, I want to give it to everybody,
right?
Because if anybody ever makes a commitment to do something, and it doesn't necessarily even have to be running, hiking, backpacking,
right,
swimming, whatever, a commitment to doing something on a regular basis, right, and you feel the benefit of that.
Yeah. Your body is just different,
You'll want it all the time,
right?
Because you know what it feels like,
And that's interesting you point that out, because our program is very safe, and there are times when I need to dial kids back because they go from 0 miles to all of a sudden, wow, I feel good. I'm going to add another 2-3 days on my own, and all of a sudden they're off our training program. Right. And we need to pull them back and say, yeah, I understand why you're feeling good and you want to take on more, but let's dial you back into the program because I don't want you to get injured. You need to get to the marathon first, you know what I mean? So
what does safe training look like, and how do you implement that? I know it's not just the running, but what does a marathon training program look like?
So we focus a lot on nutrition, obviously. Water's a big thing. And
do that again.
We focus on dietary nutrition, water, obviously hydration. We start the kids off at our first week is a 2 mile. Their very first day is 2 miles. So it's 2, 2, 3. We train them only 3 days a week. Most marathon training programs, if you're looking online, the method you'll get from different apps or the method you'll get if you search it, you might be running 4 to 5 days a week, and you're probably going to ramp up pretty big miles during that time. We start very slow, and it's no more than 2 days, actually 3 days a week. So Tuesday, Thursday, Saturday is our early day and our long run day, unless we have an event. And we break up the training with every 4 to 6 weeks we have an event, so that way it's not monotonous. We do, and the events are set at benchmark levels, which support the marathon training. So this coming Sunday, the kids have their first race at it's the LA Cancer Challenge at UCLA. So we'll be there. That'll be their first qualifying event, and they need to clear those qualifying events to continue on with the program.
So qualifying event means that they have to finish in a certain amount of time?
No, not so much. They just have to finish.
Okay.
But by them finishing, they're committed to their training in the program. So our program isn't. We're not. We don't. I will never sweat a student for not coming to practice. That's not the way the program's set up. But it is self-accounting. So the way that we designed it is that a student can blow off as many trainings as they want, but any training they miss, those miles go into a bank that they owe me, those miles. And they have to have those miles in the Thursday before any qualifying event, or they lose their spot on the team.
Got it.
So right now we're in a week. This is race week. So I have kids texting me now saying, "Hey coach, can you spot miles?" because they're down miles. You know what I mean? So that'll all wash out, and then we'll start fresh next week after they qualify for the event. But the events are cool because that's when they get the goodie bags and the shirts and the finishers medals, and that keeps it fun. You know what I mean? So
yeah, and the team effort.
right.
Everybody's coming across, we're all congratulating each other. I wrote down some key stuff that I want to kind of go over, and I got it from your website, just sort of keywords, and and how does this relate to the program? Life skills. What sort of life skills is a student going to learn? What sort of life skills did you learn through this program, Samantha?
For me, I learned a lot of life skills. I'm not saying I always apply them, like drinking water, but I did learn them. And just eating healthy, being healthy altogether, the correct way of exercising. You can't just wake up one day and run 15 miles.
Right.
You could definitely
You
try
can
to.
you can do that, but you
but
pay for it.
You're gonna,
Poorly.
you're gonna be hurting. And I'm still able to apply those skills today. I know how to eat healthy. I know how to cook healthy, and instead of just going out for fast food every day, I can go into a grocery store. I know what to pick out for my body to be healthy.
Right.
And just altogether, like for the team, having that commitment, puts in your head responsibility.
Yeah.
Not only if you don't go every day, you still have to get those miles in before the races. So it's still responsibility, no matter what. You have to get this done. Otherwise, you're out.
Right.
So.
And you probably hear it from the other. You hear the terms like peer pressure. In teen life a lot of times, but you probably get some positive peer pressure as well. Like if you don't show up, you get other people going, "Hey, where were you? Yeah. What's going on?" Kind of egging you on, like that's not cool. You got to show up for the thing, right?
Yeah.
Well, we also weekly they get their stats every week, so we give them performance feedback, and there's a big red column that shows miles owed, and they can see who owes miles, and they're going to get on each other. Yeah, trust me, because they don't want to lose their teammates. You know what I mean? So, yeah.
Healthy relationships, building healthy relationships. I noticed that in your literature as well. How does that happen out there while you're training?
For the adults, I want to
everybody,
say, for everybody. I mean, like I was kind of alluding to before, marathon training is kind of that shared misery, but it's a healthy kind of thing, So as you're kind of building perseverance, and I'm sure there were many times on our long runs, you were like, I just don't want to do this anymore, So
Every time.
yeah, so yeah,
Maybe
so,
every time.
and that happens, and so the perseverance part of it, learning how to stick in there when things get hard, because it is going to be hard, So we have this year. It's interesting that LA requires me to maintain a minimal amount of folks that are tied to SOAR, whether students or adults. My contract with them says that I'm gonna, as a featured charity for the LA Marathon, which is this is our 5th year as a featured charity for them, and there's only 5.
That's a
featured
big
charity.
deal.
Yeah, it's a big deal.
Yeah.
So and I give a shout out to LA for supporting that. We have to bring a minimum of 40 people to the marathon to essentially fulfill our contract. And this year, right now, we have 63 on the team. So that speaks volumes of, how people are committed. There's 38 students. The balance of those are adults. And the adults, it's not like your typical sports or, a sports program where an adult might be sitting there watching the kids work out while they're tracking stats or whatever. Where anybody who's tied to the program is required to run mile for mile with the students. So
Well, you're training for a marathon, whether you're a student or an adult, right?
we're all training, and that's a requirement. You have to commit to running the marathon too with the students. So a lot of the adults, because they're busy, they can't meet us after school. They're on their own and they'll train on their own. But on Saturdays, you'll see a big group on Saturdays when the coaches will all be there, and it's pretty cool to see that their relationship building. Anybody who signs on as an assistant coach for me, I require them to attend a minimum of 1 practice per week, and that's so that they can build a relationship with the students.
1 out of the 3. So there's different levels of commitment from the adults.
Right. We have a charity runner is somebody who really
Ooh,
is
that's me.
and that's Bob. Bob's a charity runner. A charity runner is somebody who has a super busy life and might not be able to commit to that 1 day a week where they can show up, but they're going to commit to a safe marathon training experience outside of the program. And that's one of the things I require from them if they're going to do it on their own. But charity runners are always welcome to participate. They can join us whenever they're free. They can do any of the races that we do. And we do get, anybody who's tied to the program gets discounted registrations through promoters. So we try and give you some love on that side. We're all committed to raising money for the program, so that's a big deal too. I'm required by the LA Marathon to make sure that my charity is sustainable. And so I have to build fundraising into the program to ensure that. But yeah.
So when you go to that website, hit that donate button. Remember that there's all of this for the students, which will end up being about 30 students at the end of the day. Correct?
Well, I'd like to carry all 38. We'll see if they hang in there. But,
So 38 students will be running the LA Marathon.
That's correct. Yeah.
and that's 38 students that all of it will be paid for. And like you
Correct.
said, it's about $1,000 per student.
Right. So I've got to come up this year with about $40,000 to make that happen. Sam said she's going to cut me a check, so it's all
Cool.
good.
You got your checkbook while you're cutting checks.
Yeah.
And so when you go there and donate, I mean, bear in mind that it is not only for a good cause, but transforming lives.
Right.
Absolutely transforming lives.
And there's no administrative overhead, and so all that, pretty much every single dollar that you donate goes directly to the students. I make sure of that. Yeah.
Yeah, very, very cool. Physical and emotional fitness. So it's not just about the physical fitness, right?
Right.
You talked a little bit about it earlier. Emotional fitness. How has this helped you emotionally?
I used to be a very angry kid. I was a very angry teenager. And I didn't even realize it at the time until many years later, thinking back at the program, but it kind of just sets everything even for you. Even when you don't realize it, when you run, endorphins are released. Even though you're in pain, these good endorphins are released. And, while running, even when you finish, being with a group of kids your age and coaches as well, cheering you on, helping you out, running with them, you're a team, helps out as well. It brings your emotions up, makes you happy, and it just feels good having that support behind you, no matter what, and through that you gain more friends, more relationships that are with you through anything else as well,
Yeah. When as human beings, there's a huge need for us to belong to something, to be a part of. And something like this, I love you said, I didn't even know it was happening. I just made the commitment. And as you're going through it, your emotional well-being is like even, you're going from all over the place to just like, I'm cool, and you describe such emotions, the pride of being part of something and finishing, the happiness that's involved with your teammates, right? The level of endorphins that are going off in your system so that you just feel much, much better about yourself.
Yeah.
And don't even know that it's happening.
Yeah.
Yeah.
And I always joke too with the program is it's a big social group. Then running is a minor inconvenience to get so we can hang out together.
That's right.
It's really it's funny. It's because we all the run. Yeah, you got to get it done. But when we're done, like nobody wants to leave. So I'm like, okay, you guys got to go home now.
Right. So everyone wants to hang.
Everybody wants to hang out, and it builds some really strong relationships. Yeah, it's a neat process.
And so, do many of the kids? Are you still in contact with people who are in the program after this a few years later?
One of them, yes. I was friends with her already before the program. I actually brought her into the program, my friend Jessica.
Right.
And she,
Look at you recruiting. Right?
she feels the same way about the program. We still talk today. We still hang out every now and then. And we love getting together because we have all these memories together, you know? And it's great. It's great being able to talk about what we did.
Right.
Every
once in a while, do you say to each other, hey, we should train and run another marathon? Right.
We get together and be like, hey, remember that time we finished a marathon,
right.
Like, yeah.
Yeah.
It's great, yeah.
Well, and that's always something that you can tap into.
Yeah.
Yeah, and every group that, this will be my 20th year coaching, every group's different. They're awesome. Yeah, so every kid's memorable.
Yeah, and you get and lifetime relationships,
right?
Lifelong relationships. I like, as you were telling as you were talking about you, Kevin, and coming here, and you said you answered that ad in the paper. There are so many wonderful programs that are out there. Now you were working with probation kids, but like wilderness programs and turning kids' lives around by introducing them to nature, outdoors, exercise, activities. That's really, really effective stuff that I think we need more of.
Yeah, I agree.
And there's just not enough of those kind of programs out there, but they're very effective. Look them up, and
they're hard. You know what I mean?
Right?
And that's the challenge. I think in this day and age, I think everybody wants the quick fix. And
they want to lay on their couch with their iPads.
And that can be a challenge because it is hard. It is commitment. There is physical, trauma, and there is physical challenges involved, and that tends to turn a lot of people off. You mentioned the less than 1%. There's a reason for that. You know what I mean? So if it was easy, everybody would do it.
Yeah, but I tell you what, and you guys know this, that you don't really necessarily have to say anything. Is just when you do it yourself. Like my kids are interested in what I'm doing. Right. I don't have to tell them, hey, you have to do this and you have to do this. They go, hey, Dad, we want to run too. Right. My 8-year-old just said, the next 5K, sign me up for. Cool. He wants to run. He wants to start running too, and I don't force him to do that.
Right. You're role modeling through action.
That's
right. That's the best way to do it.
Mm-hmm.
Absolutely, and that's a lot of what this program is about. If you just joined us recently, we are talking about the SOAR program, Students Off and Running, and we will be back after these messages to wrap it all up. Thanks.
Do you know a single parent struggling either financially or emotionally in the Santa Clarita Valley? Single Mothers Outreach is an organization that focuses exclusively on the needs of vulnerable single parents. Single Mothers Outreach provides assistance with housing, financial organization, life and career skills, in addition to emotional health and support. Single Mothers Outreach also provides single parents with a community of people who understand exactly what a single parent goes through and the struggles he or she faces on a day-to-day basis. Visit singlemothersoutreach.org.
Coming soon to the Canyon Santa Clarita, Jen Blossoms, Eddie Money, Chris Christopherson, Timothy B. Schmidt, Petula Clark, Tower of Power, Berlin, Todd Rundgren, Jefferson Starship, John Hyatt, The Spinners, Doc In, Lynch Mob, English Beat, Sinbad, Cinderella's Tom Kiefer, Ricky Lee Jones, Ambrosia, Donovan Frankenreiter, Boogie Nights, and many more. Soulful Sunday brunch every Sunday, country nights on Wednesdays, and they're the perfect place to host your holiday parties and special events. The Canyon Santa Clarita, where music meets the soul. Tickets available through Ticketmaster.
You got some aches and pains, you weekend warrior, chronic inflammation or chronic pain? Well, guess what? I've got a solution for you. It's called Men Cryotherapy, right here in Santa Clarita. Men Cryotherapy is what the major leaguers are using to mend their aches and pains. They're in the LA Fitness Shopping Center on Newhall Ranch Road. They could be a wonderful blessing for you to relieve you of your joint pain and regain your mobility. Remember the name, Men Cryotherapy, or check them out at mencryotherapy.com. That's MEND cryotherapy.com.
Drugs or alcohol abuse can tear a family apart. In Santa Clarita, just like everywhere else, it's an epidemic. The Way Out Recovery is here to help. Call them now at 296-4444 or visit them on the web at thewayoutrecoveryscv.com. The Way Out offers outpatient treatment for adolescents, adults, and family members. The Way Out is compassionate, caring, professional, and confidential. You and your family don't have to suffer any longer. Call The Way Out Recovery now, 296-4444, or visit thewayoutrecoveryscv.com and make an appointment. Asking for help is the first step.
Santa Clarita's hometown station, KHTS. We fought so hard, now we gotta get back what we lost. I thought you'd go, but you were with me all along.
Welcome back to the Way Out Recovery Hour. I'm Bob Sharits, and what an awesome show. You know, we're going to wrap it up. We have had in studio with us Samantha and Kevin from the SOAR program that's Students Off and Running. It's a local program that takes youth in need. So many of them have never run in their lives, and trains them, and everyone runs. And so far, everyone has finished in 11 years the Los Angeles Marathon. Big deal. You know, it transforms lives. It changes relationships. You know, we've got a couple of minutes to wrap it up. Do you think we forgot to talk about anything today? Look at, they're silent. I guess we hit it all.
Yeah.
Covered a lot of good stuff.
Yeah. So I'm going to read off a couple of things and just tell me what you guys, what this means in terms of the program. Perseverance.
The commitment, the 24 weeks and the 400 miles that you have to put on your body during that time takes a ton of perseverance. It starts off with a 2-mile run, and near the end SOAR has their own 20-mile qualifier. You have to do all 20, and you can't piecemeal that. It has to be done in one setting. So that takes a ton of perseverance and a ton of commitment. Yeah. Sure.
For those listening, if you don't know what a marathon is, it's 26 miles. 26.2.
26.2.
The point two.
It's the point two.
It's the point two that gets you.
Yeah.
It's that last point,
Yep.
2/10 that gets you. Yeah, think about that for those of you, who haven't ever done anything like this, or even those who have, 26.2 miles. That's a long way to keep moving.
Race goes from Dodger Stadium and it ends at Santa Monica Pier. So
and typically, how you say you did it in 5 hours. Mm-hmm. So think about that, folks. Running straight for 5 hours. Running straight for 5 hours.
Oh, I did it. I know. I don't want to think about it. No. It was great, though. Yeah.
Yeah. I mean, it's awesome. I don't think we've taken the time to say, I say congratulations on the LA Marathon, but what a strong person you are to do that. What a level of commitment that takes, and what a level of perseverance that takes.
Thank you.
I have a friend of mine, and he jokes around a lot in his life. He says he's been a 3-inning ball player. He commits to a lot of things and plays 3 innings, and I'm out, it's too hard, and I'm out, it's too hard. Right. And I think a lot of people in life do that, and I think a lot of, being a teenager is tough.
I think that also that the fact that the students can endure my sarcasm for 24 weeks is in and of itself a sign of perseverance.
You're like, oh, here we go.
Right?
Yeah, we got to show up and run and put in a lot of work on them and put up with Kevin. Right?
True,
Yeah. Health and nutrition, right? Has that changed for you?
During the marathon, yes. Unfortunately, I didn't keep up with it afterwards, but I do know how, at least, you know.
Right.
I actually recently have been trying to, and because of the marathon, because of SOAR, I do know how to. I know how to cook healthy meals, drink water every day, and keep healthy, you know. I know the correct things to put into my body to keep it healthy.
There might still be time to jump in and start running for that, train for that marathon.
There is. There's still time.
We're only in week 3.
Get on in there, man.
Week 3. I could still do it. Yeah.
Yeah, maybe this show will prompt you to make that commitment or something, or at least
I think
make
it
some
just
changes,
might.
right?
Yeah, it will.
For me, that nutritional piece, I try to stay away from processed foods as much as possible. Cook my own stuff, buy my own fresh veggies, and cut my salt, which is a huge deal for me. So.
Well, when you're out there running, I know this from personal experience, is, you have to eat along the way. And if you're not putting the right stuff in your body, it's going to do just the opposite. You think you're putting in fuel, but if it's not the right stuff,
right.
It's going to bog you down.
Right,
It's going to bog you down. And so you really have to be aware of what you eat.
Yep, absolutely.
Yep.
And we do train the students on that too. We have our own nutrition clinic, and they come to practice on a Saturday, and I cook a couple $100 worth of nutritional food for them, and we let them have at it. So.
And say, try to model this.
Yeah, we talk to them about the importance of carbohydrates and protein and recovery in your system when you're doing these long traumatic runs and how that impacts your body. Yeah, it's a whole learning process for them. So.
Yeah, and feeding your body afterwards to recover.
Right.
It's not just about putting in the miles. It's about learning how to recover afterwards as well.
Absolutely. It's a big part
Well,
of it.
and so, some other parts of the program, building self-esteem, resiliency, being able to come back from the things that hurt and the things that are tough. And at the end of the day, Samantha, you are an awesome role model to anybody coming up under you. Awesome role model. You have a lot to give. Look at my medal. And let me tell you what it took to get this thing right here. And you have a lot to give away and to be, continue to be that role model. So thanks for being here today.
Thank you for having me. Yeah,
Kevin, thanks
glad
for
to be
being here today.
Sure, thank you.
So one more time, go to www.soar-sc.org. Hit that big donate money button and give some money to this awesome organization so they can help these 38 students run that LA Marathon, and all of them will finish again this year.
Absolutely.
Thanks a lot, guys. This is Bob Sharits in the Way Out Recovery Hour, and we'll see everybody next week.
It's the false prophet that never came, and will they think that everything that I've written is